Hello, and welcome to our brief overview on how to use our return on investment calculator. For this example, we're just going to use a basic RCA one-day class, and we need to justify it to the powers that be about the return on investment for investing in such a class. All we really need to know as the ones filling this out is that anything here in orange is an input field that's customizable. So I'm going to go through this and I'm going to show you some of the defaults, but you'll understand the calculations are pretty easy. First block here is that we have to know how many people we want to train. The second block here is the 30% performing the analyses. We're assuming that for every 10 people you train, 3 will actually do it. In our 32 years in this business, that's been, unfortunately, it's not a great statistic, but that's the realities of when training occurs. And that fits with the National Society for Training and Development national standards as well. So we're going to get 3 out of every 10. So that's going to give us about 75 people actually out there giving it a try. We're going to, again, assume that people are working in teams of 2. You can change that if you work by yourself or whether you work with more people. So this will give us 37 and a half active RCA teams out in the field. Now we're going to use another conservative statistic and say, well, we're only going to assume that these people are going to do one analysis, one completed analysis every 2 months. So that would be 6 a year. We multiply that and we say this is the total number of completed RCAs for a given year. Now we have to look at the return, and again, in our experience, this is going to be a conservative number, but for the RCAs that these teams are working on, we're expecting a net minimum $25,000 return. This would include lost profit opportunities or avoided downtime. This would include labor costs that we wouldn't incur because the failure didn't occur. And this would also include materials, for instance, that we would not be using because the failure didn't occur. So our total potential benefit, the fact that these weren't happening, is going to be about $5.5 million. But these come with a price. So now we have to look at the expense side. If we're going to train these 250 people, the actual one-day training, we're going to assume here that we're going to use a train-the-trainer format. So we're going to certify a certain number of trainers in our organization. They're going to go back out and train the masses. This is the most economical format. So under this format, we're going to assume a $180 fee. You can make that whatever you want. And if it's that you're going to train in-house and you're not going to use any third parties, then there wouldn't be any value here. So now we're going to say it's $180 to train the 250 people, and that this is just a training cost. So now we're going to assume that 12.5% of these people's time, we took an average between 10 and 15% of people's time would be spent doing these 6 analyses a year. These people don't work for free, so it's a legitimate cost to the organization. So say they're making $50,000 a year, times the 12.5%, times the number of people, we're going to have a total cost of training these people along with their time of this amount. Okay, now we're going to move down to the persons actually doing the training, the trainers. We're going to use an assumption here that for every 100 people trained, we're going to have 1 trainer. So for 250 people, we're going to have 2.5 trainers. So the average cost to train each of these, to certify each of these train-the-trainers, is going to be $26.50. Again, put in whatever you want. If we're only using in-house personnel, there wouldn't be a cost. Then this would be the train-the-trainer fees. Then we go back and we say, well, these train-the-trainers, if they're really managing 100 of these analysts, then that's going to take all of their time. Now in this case, we're going to allocate the train-the-trainer salary all to that. If that's not the case, then use a partial of their annual salary. So now we've taken into account the training cost for both of our people to be trained and our train-the-trainers, and we've taken into account the cost of taking them out of the field and applying the training, as well as being in the classroom. So now this ends up being our total investment in training these people. So now we take the easy calculation of the benefits divided by the investments, and we get a return on investment, in this case, of 809%. Now, easily, once you set your defaults to whatever your realities are, we can go in and say, well, I'm not going to really be needing to train that many people. I'm just going to train 50 people. But all of my parameters here are custom to me. That's my reality. So now I come in here and I say 50, and it still ends up being about an 809% return on investment. So for every dollar we spend, we're going to make about $8 back. This is how we sell a business case to the finance people in our organizations to represent, a good investment. If this was our own money, we certainly would want to get a return on our investment. So we hope this calculator helps you out. It allows you to be able to customize your reality in it, and it really is what the CFO type of people look for. So we wish you the best of luck.